Guys, I've got a paint problem on my 2021 Road Glide Special, and you probably have the same problem on your bike. Guys, my name is Rick and this is the HDVIBE channel. In today's video, I'm actually going to show you where this paint problem exists on my bike, what's causing that paint problem, and how you too can fix this paint problem on your Harley Davidson touring motorcycle. And we'll get into it right after this. That's right, guys, I have a paint problem on my 2021 Road Glide Special, and I will almost bet that you have the same problem on your Harley Davidson touring motorcycle, because I've had this same issue on at least two of my other Harley Davidson touring motorcycles. And that is, I have a paint problem right here. Let me show you close up what this looks like. Here's the problem. You can kind of see it right here. This grazing of the paint right there and right here. And typically the only time you see this is when you take off that stock seat and then you go to put on an aftermarket seat such as Saddlemen seats, and this paint is just absolutely a mess, and it shows every time you're riding the bike, and every time I look down at that, it just sickens me. So here's what causes that problem. It's these stock Harley Davidson seats, which are awful, and unfortunately I bought this bike pre-owned. So this seat, this stock Harley Davidson seat, was on this bike for about 3,000 miles, and as you can see, it kind of comes out there, and it basically, as you ride and as dust and dirt gets under there, this seat rubs on that tank and causes that paint to get all marred up and really begins to destroy that clear coat that's over this very nice paint that's on the bike. And if you take it off, you can see right here and right here, the paint is marred. Now I've taken off the center console here because what I'm going to do now is show you how you can correct this, and I'm going to do my best to get this to the point where it's as shiny as almost new, so that when I have that Saddlemen seat on there, which comes in about right here, you don't see these marred areas any longer on this tank. So the first step in clearing up this haze on this clear coat on this tank is to clay bar it. And what we want to do is use this clay bar here and some sort of detailer or something so that you don't have too much friction. And what this clay bar will do is pull all the dirt and contaminants out of that space before we go on to the next step. So just spray a little bit of the detail on there, spray that on your clay bar. And again, this is McGuire's, whatever clay bar will work. And just rub this around on the area that's been impacted by this. I'm going to go up a little bit higher because underneath that console, it's kind of messed up under there as well. There was a lot of dirt and grime under there from 3 or so years that I've been riding this bike. So I'm going to do that until this thing slides smoothly across there. And that means all of those contaminants are off that paint, and do that for a while. And I think that feels pretty good there. So a little close-up of after I've clay barred this, you can still see the marring on that clear coat right in here. And actually down the middle of the tank, there's one spot right here that was underneath that console that I'm actually going to try to get that out as well. So now that we've gotten this all cleaned up, we're ready to move on to the next step. The next step, what I would suggest is you buy a cutting and polishing kit. In this case, I actually have the Chemical Guys one. It's not sponsored, but I'll actually pop a picture of the kit that I got right up here, and I'll also put a link down in the description. So I basically got the cutting compound and the polishing compound. In addition to these two compounds, I also got this orbital polisher, which comes with two pads that go with that, one for the polish and one for the cutting compound. What I'm going to do is actually work on this spot right up in here that's under the tank console first before I get into this. And the reason I want to do that is I want to see how abrasive that cutting compound is and see if that takes this scuff out of here. I'm not sure if the camera's picking it up, but I think you saw it earlier. And for this, you're actually going to use an orange pad on the Chemical Guys orbital polisher here. And what you want to do is take some of this cutting compound and you're going to put some dabs on here and then dab it onto the tank, and then I'll start that polishing process. So a couple dabs here like that. So you got it on there. Then I'm going to just gently dab it onto the tank here where my problem area is. And then I'll start buffing this lightly. This has speed settings. I'm going to start at a speed setting 2. I believe this goes all the way up to a 6. Go ahead and turn it on back here, and we'll start buffing this out. You kind of keep buffing this compound on here so it starts to get dry and starts to kind of be flaky and not liquefied anymore. So I'll just keep going here a little bit. Just kind of go nice up and down motions, side to side, kind of staying in the area where you're trying to correct the paint issue. All right, so now that I've got that cutting compound kind of worked in there, I'm actually going to take a nice clean soft microfiber and begin to wipe this cutting compound off of here. It's done pretty well. I still have a little bit of a mark right there, so I think what I'm going to do is actually do another round on that, and then I think we'll be ready then to go on, move on down to this and see what we got. And again, not much pressure on this. I'm just kind of letting the orbital polisher do its work here. And as that material begins to dry out, that's your indication to go ahead and stop with this one and then wipe that down with the microfiber. It's definitely getting better. That was just a first round on that. It's getting a little dull in there from that cut, and then what will happen is when I put the polish on there, that'll bring that shine back. But I'm going to work a little bit more on these areas. This is not quite where I want it yet, so I'm going to do another round on that to try to get this, cut this clear down a little bit and get a little bit more shine and get that marring off there. All right, so I've got that all cut down and it's looking pretty good. So now the next step is I need to go ahead and polish this up to get that like new shine on there. So what I'm gonna do is use this white pad, which is a little softer, and then this Perfection Polish compound, very soft, very light. But what that's gonna do is any of those scuffs from that cutting compound will be buffed up into a high gloss shine. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now, and I'll show you that process and what it looks like after we get done. But wow, I am super impressed. We are probably 95% of the way there. I think this polish is gonna take us all the way to looking like new. Got my white soft pad on here. I'm gonna put the polish onto the pad just like I did, put a few dabs on here, and then we'll get to shining this up to make it look like brand new. And always make sure you shake up your polishes and your compounds. We got the dabs on there. We'll kind of dab this all over the tank. And we're going to focus our polishing on all this area where I use that cutting compound, and it's kind of dulled the paint just ever so slightly. So let's get after it. Okay, so that polish is starting to dry out. I'm going to go ahead and microfiber that down, and then we'll give it another shot. We'll see what it looks like. Then we probably will have to go another round on this. So I've actually grabbed another nice soft microfiber. This one is super soft and it's clean. I'm not using the same one that I used that cutting compound on. So let me go ahead and wipe this down, get all of this polish off here, and see what we got. And we are looking pretty darn good. This spot up here is completely gone. And where the seat rubs were, we're getting there. I'm going to do another round of polish. This side is almost perfect. This side was a little bit deeper So I'm going to go ahead and put another round of polish, primarily focusing down in here so I can get those. But up here, this one's good. And I don't know if the camera's picking up, but all that dull from that cutting compound is now nice and shiny. This tank is looking good. I'm going to do another round of polish right in here to get these cleaned up a little bit more. And then we'll take a look at what the final product looks like. Guys, so there is the tank after I've done the cutting compound and the polish. And you can see that is a huge, huge improvement over where we were before. All right, guys, so that's it. That's where you will have that Harley paint problem, and the culprit is those stock seats, and it just wreaks havoc on these tanks. This one had the stock seat on for about 3,500 miles, and it just absolutely tore up that tank. And you probably have the same problem too if you're still running that stock seat. Take it off, take a look at it, and guys, with about half an hour of my time, I spent about $130 on that Chemical Guys kit. It works really well. So guys, if you want to see how to touch up a fender chip, go check out this video. If you want to see all of the installations that I've done on these bikes, go check out that playlist, and also go right up here and subscribe to the channel.